Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the one and only show on the internet where we dare to ask questions about sci-fi, fantasy, movies, TV, and other assorted nerdy ephemera. I am Dan Selcke, the editor of winteriscoming.net, and I am here with my co-host.
I'm Mia Johnson, co-editor over on winteriscoming.net and editor on Dork Side of the Force. And I guess, well, you see today we have an extra special guest. If you're watching us live, because we have Jennifer Wood joining us. She's over from one of our wonderful, I guess you can call them sister sites within Minute Media.
And we will.
Mental Floss. Yes. Yeah.
Hello.
The managing editor. So yeah, hello and welcome. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. And the reason we're having you on is because Mental Floss is putting out not a pamphlet, not a leaflet, but a full book.
Full book. Big book. Big, handsome book. Yes, it's a sturdy, gorgeous book called The Curious Viewer.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm ready to talk about it. We were talking about, we didn't have any copies yet, but oh man, take a look at this gorgeous.
You're jealous, aren't you? I happen to have it open to the Game of Thrones page, but it's all, sort of unique, like illustrations, art. So it's just, I was saying before that if I was not the editor of the book, I would definitely be buying it. It's just a lot of really, kind of cool information and covering shows of the last 20 years. So we had to cut ourselves off somewhere, unfortunately, and we went with 20.
So what would you say, like, why would someone in a bookstore purchase The Curious Viewer? What is in there for the millions of fans of Take the Black Live?
There is, I feel like if you watch TV, and you're kind of more than just a casual viewer, you like to kind of get that behind the scenes information. Mental Floss is known for, we love to dig for research and little known facts. That's kind of what the brand is known for. This year is our 20th year. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So we've been doing this a long time.
That's impressive,
Yeah, we've been digging up facts like long before, there were 20 facts about every show out there. And so it's been really great to be able to sort of comb through some of the previous interviews we've done over the years, as well as create new content for this book. But it really does just dig into TV shows that you've maybe watched 100 times, Friends, The Office, Game of Thrones, and then maybe shows that you've never watched yet. So our goal here is to sort of, get you maybe reinterested in a rewatch of something you loved, or remind you of a show that you watched in the past that you thought, oh, you know what, I want to
always nice.
Does it hold up? 24 was a good example of that. I started watching 24 and they killed a lot of people in the first 5 minutes. Not something I remembered. But so it's really for, we look at it as the kind of gift that, I personally would be buying for myself as well as anyone else that I know who loves television, because there's just facts about, you're going to go from Game of Thrones to Gilmore Girls to Doctor Who, to The Wire. So it's really, there's something in there for everyone.
That's awesome. Everyone knows here I'm a really big fan of Doctor Who, so I'm going to be flipping to that page. Game of Thrones, and I'll flip to Doctor Who page, and then
I as well. So I would say that probably the bulk of that was my doing, and I probably tried to push a little further with how much space we devoted to certain shows, Doctor Who being one of them. So yes.
And I was wondering, how long did it take you to work on this book?
So we started working on, this is kind of the second book in the Curious series, we'll call it. So in May of this year, we had The Curious Reader that came out, and that was basically the literary version of what this book is. And our editor-in-chief, Erin McCarthy, was the editor of that title. This is kind of book number 2, and what we hope will be an ongoing and long-lasting series. So we really have been talking about it and kind of ideating and saying like, oh, it would be cool if we did a book like this. Here's the kind of thing we do. Probably going back about 2 years, we started really kind of working on it, heads down, doing like the real work of it. In 2020, I think I'm getting my deadline confused, but we were still really able to add little things to it earlier this year, which was great because it allowed us to write about shows that like, had we been on a schedule, we have a part at the very end where all of our writers and editors sort of write a little bit about a favorite show of theirs. And most of them are more recent. So I wrote about I May Destroy You, for example. And so we were able to get just a little bit of thing about newer shows that we didn't have, this compendium of information on.
What can I add? So if it's the curious viewer, I guess how many shows are profiled in this book, and then B, I guess ballpark, and then B, if you're thinking of making this a series, not to get too MCU ahead of the curve on you, but does that mean the next book's being like the curious theater goer or something?
That could be something we would be discussing, or there's definitely some conversations. There's also some conversations about going backwards. So for me, there's a lot of like shows, particularly 80s shows that I would have loved to include. Even a show like Seinfeld didn't quite make like the cutoff in our timeline of what we were doing. So if we were the MCU, phase 2, answer your first question, big profiles, I'm going to say there's like about 100 shows that we sort of like do like a decent profile of. But then with each of those shows, we also do little like, if you like that, here are some other shows you love. And we did allow ourselves some leeway to go back a little bit further than that 20 years to talk about, if you love Downton Abbey, watch the original Upstairs, Downstairs, that kind of stuff. Or if you love Doctor Who, like go back and watch the original Doctor Who. So yeah, there's probably, I might be there's a lot of TV shows talked about. And then a lot of little, in addition to just like the major profiles, we have sort of themes that go off of those. So one, for example, is, shows that we kind of stole from the Brits. So we have a whole list of shows that we tried to remake successfully or not successfully. So we wrote about Broadchurch, for example, and then Grace Point, which nobody kind of saw, which was a remake also with David Tennant, that did not hold up to the original, or The In-Betweeners, so we kind of we go off on little tangents there where we're able to kind of talk about another 10 shows, sneak in some more mentions there.
Yeah. Yes, there's just so much to write about. Like we always talk about how just now there's always so much new stuff for us to watch that it's kind of hard to keep up. But this is also good because now it either helps you to revisit the stuff you like or to visit some new stuff that you might not have watched.
And even with, with HBO Max, for example, it's like, I'm surprised sometimes when, and you guys, I'm sure have this, where you're talking to someone, you talk about Game of Thrones, and you'll meet someone, and they're like, I've never watched it. And it kind of like throws you for a minute. You're like, where you think we exist in a world where we think everyone has seen The Sopranos, The Wire. And when people tell me that they haven't, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So you have to sort of recalibrate a little bit. And now it's not just the new stuff that's coming out. Like you have access to so much great content from years past that, like, in my opinion, you must watch. You must watch the show, so.
Yeah. There's almost so much you kind of need a curation guide, because otherwise, what would you do? You're just watching a sea of Netflix, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Apple TV Plus, the other three.
I can't keep track of what exists, and I have them all, So I find myself watching shows that it's just sort of, you press play and you're like, I'm 10 episodes in now. but yeah, it really is that. It's sort of trying to curate a guide for you a little bit. And
I like that.
also, but there's plenty of people who don't like, X show. And so
Sure.
we're kind of trying to say, if you didn't like this, then you probably wouldn't like this. So stray more toward this direction. But yeah, it's just really, we do have spoiler alerts. I will
Sure.
say, even for show, even though we're going back 20 years, we know that some people are reading these for the first time. So we definitely have some spoiler alerts on there for if you have not watched, Game of Thrones, don't read about Richard Madden, learning about something. We put those in there.
Speaking on the topic of kind of broadening your reach, we have a question from one of our esteemed Australian viewer, Julie Davies.
Okay.
Is the book mostly shows from the US, or are there, Doctor Who, I guess, but are there other international shows in there?
It's definitely US heavy.
Sure.
What I actually say in the intro is when we talk about shows that I happen to be just like, I watch a lot of British TV. So I tried to have to be sort of pulled away from like, can I write 30 pages on the thick of it? And, no, I was not allowed to do that. But so it's really kind of shows that we know have a large audience, a large fan base. But we definitely sneak in some recommendations of foreign shows to watch as well. Also, there's a lot of kind of Netflix content in there as well. Yeah. So stuff that is going to be global. We definitely have that in there. So Julie, hopefully you definitely find some shows if you're watching this, then you'll definitely find some shows that you like or that you would like to discover.
Lovely.
Awesome. And of course, since this is a Game of Thrones podcast and you said you've got the Game of Thrones spread, I was wondering for you if there was a surprising fact, something that really surprised you that you include in the book that you can tease. I want to see if it surprises me or anyone in the audience as well. It's a little teaser.
You guys are a tough room for that.
I might not be. I'm still a novice. So
okay. All right. Well, so I think that number one, I should say that we went Game of Thrones crazy when the show was on. We all do. So much, so we have so much content on the site, and we could definitely have filled, five of these with just Game of Thrones. So and this is not in the book, but I will tell you, we did interview scientists about could the dragons actually fly, which is the kind of thing that Mental Floss likes to do. Is go to experts and say things like, could Scrooge McDuck actually swim in a pool full of coins? And after they're done laughing at us, they answer our questions. So there's a story that we do. But I think there's a couple things. One of them, I love the story I think we were talking yesterday, something about my love of animals. I love that Sansa in real life adopted her direwolf lady.
That's very cute.
It was looking for a home. But one thing I really loved is that for the Battle of the Bastards, Kit Harington apparently is severely claustrophobic and said that was just, nightmare fuel to film that. So they had to create a safe word in the filming of that. So that if it got too much, that he could use his safe word and didn't share what the safe word was, but so we do have a little bit about that in there. But yeah, there's just, there's a lot with Game of Thrones. There's a lot of fun facts behind that, and I think too that when you're watching it, you can, as serious as it gets and as dramatic, there is that kind of comedic edge. There's a scene where they're using another language, but they're actually using Monty Python insults, but they've translated. Or that there's a Dwight Schrute impacted Dothraki. So there's it's called the Schrutian compound in Dothraki. So we have a lot of stuff in the book that even kind of brings it into other shows and other fandoms, which is a lot of fun to be able to do that crossover.
Sounds really, really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So when does it come out? When can we finally grab this?
October 19th, it hits bookshelves, virtual bookshelves, wherever you buy your book. But it's available for pre-order wherever you get them. But it's available for pre-order now on, on any place you do that, Amazon, etc. So
my final question for you, Jennifer. As a fan of Veep, should I watch In Thick of It?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that is a hands down. Even as not a fan of Veep, you should watch The Thick of It. There's a lot of similarities.
Sure.
But they actually had a swearing consultant. So they had a writer who specifically like amped up the swears. So it's more sweary, but it's British sweary. So yes, you should absolutely.
I always heard it was good, and I never just got around to it. But okay, I think I'll take the plunge now.
I want an update because it's one of the shows that I just watch on a loop, and my husband will be like, I can tell, I just hear Peter Capaldi, he basically said he hears Doctor Who.
I love it.
Yeah, like that's like, he's like, I can't tell if you're watching Doctor Who or The Thick of It. And then he hears, a few F-bombs and figures that it's not Doctor Who.
I love it. Thank you, the curious viewer, out on October 19th for changing my life in this way.
I'll show it again. Yes. And I want an update on that. And then when we do the Thick of It episode, I will come back and we will exchange sweary words.
Perfect. Well, Jennifer, any other thing you want to say before we play you off?
I will make sure you guys get some copies because you deserve them. So I'll make that happen for you. But yes, anyone who loves TV or loves someone who loves TV, check it out. Go online and you'll see some layouts and look forward to hearing people's thoughts on it. We're excited to get it in people's hands.
I love it. Thanks so much for coming on. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
You too.
That was fun.
That's awesome.
I will probably read that. If they give us free stuff, I will definitely read that book. I wonder how much is written about each show, Is it like just pages and pages and pages of text? I'm sure there are pictures in there too. I need some visual stimulation.
Yeah, it looks really nice. You can go on the publication website. I think Simon and Schuster. You get a couple of photos of the spreads, and then you can kind of get a teaser from there. So it should be a really great book.
And Christian's into it. Julie, hello. Hello to everybody who is here. Joanne and Stephanie and Nancy. Good to see you all. And yeah, that was we at Take the Black are becoming a very exclusive interview podcast. So expect just it to wrap up from here. We had Sarah Beth, we had Jennifer Wood. We mentioned Peter Capaldi. Now we will get Peter Capaldi probably in a couple of weeks.
That easy. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, speaking of Game of Thrones stuff, of course, before we move on, our next topic, of course, is the ongoing filming of House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel series set 180 some years before the show we all know, when Targaryens split off into factions and fight each other on their dragons. All right. I thought we'd check in because it's always fun to check in and see what's happening. And there are some cool stuff going down on the set of the House of the Dragon. And thank you, Christian. You said it looks like I have a moonshine glass, which these are just the glasses they have in the office. I don't quite know what the thinking was with them, but
it's a mason jar. It's very popular. I've got one in my cabinet for water.
Very nice. Yeah, but it does look like straight vodka, doesn't it? But it's not. Maybe we'll see. All right. So we have some fun new images of some new characters from House of the Dragon. Let's take a look. The first one here, we have Theo Nate as Laenor Valerian and Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra Targaryen. Okay. I won't go over the story again. I feel like I've done it too much. But these two are married. And this is a younger version of sort of the lead character. On the right, Rhaenyra is a very important character in the story. And she has Emma Darcy plays the older version. This is the younger version by Millie Alcock. I have this name straight in my head. And that is Laenor Valerian. He is her gay husband. Married. I remember this. Right, yes. Married for political reasons. They get along perfectly well, but they're kind of in a, he has a boyfriend, she has a lover. And they're like, won't see her at dinner, and it's fine. Yeah, that's cool to see. I don't know if I love the wig, honestly, on Theonate.
It really does look like a mop head. They just kind of chopped it off and slapped it on him. It's really, and I know Daenerys is very distinct. You like really don't see any other Targaryens in the original series. So when I see these photos, it just looks like everyone is doing a Daenerys cosplay or a male version of Daenerys cosplay. I'm sure I'll get over it at some point, but yeah, I have not been impressed by the wig so far. Even for who's this, Rhaenyra? I'm like,
Rhaenyra, yeah.
It could just be so much. HBO has so much money. It could be so much better.
I mean, this is like paparazzi photograph from 1,000 meters away. It does look better on the screen, but I look at that and I do like,
yeah.
I mean, it'd be a very distinctive Halloween costume if you wanted to go with that. But we also have a picture of Theonate as Laenor and actor Sully McLeod as Laenor's lover, Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, who is not wearing a wig, so far as I can tell. Pretty sure that he's rocking his natural British red hair or whatever. So yeah, we're getting like, again, family drama. It's always in Game of Thrones, a part of this show too. We got Rhaenyra, who is married to Laenor, who is sleeping with Joffrey, and Rhaenyra is sleeping with Harwin Strong and has kids who they claim are Laenor's. Everyone's like, everyone knows, everyone knows the way Laenor swings, but they just like pretend because they're going to be important royal children. But it becomes important later when there's the split and the opposite side says, well, they're not even the real kids. They can't inherit the throne. She's like, oh, like hell they aren't, even though they all have dark hair. Like her kids don't have Targaryen blonde hair, which is kind of the weird,
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. And then this is kind of a spoiler, but you know what? No, it's I won't say it. Family drama is the name of the game. And then we can't forget Matt Smith, Rhaenyra's uncle, seen here waiting
filming an R&B music video. Please don't go. No. Go ahead.
Drunken love is what I'm getting from this, is when she's on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's doing here. There's like a whole series of scenes where Matt Smith in his Targaryen wig is like lying on the beach, exhausted. There was one thing about the sword was kind of like coming out of him, but I think it was just the weird angle. He doesn't die this early. It's fine. And now he's wading into the beach out of despair. There was one video where a guy like gives him a message, like a little scroll, and then he reads it and then just like slaps the guy until he goes down on the ground. Damon's kind of a jackass. That's Matt Smith's character. Jackass. He's an emotional gentleman. So I guess he got some bad news and he's not happy, is what I'm getting from these scenes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, you sure it's not just like Matt Smith after a long day on set?
Yeah.
He's like, boy. Looks like that. But now that you give me the description of the video, it does sound like something that they're shooting. It's not just him like behind the scenes.
No, Matt Smith's just like in his full costume, just like, I'm just gonna wade into the surf here and see what happens.
Yeah. It's a tough life being Matt Smith. Who knows?
Why? I do think this picture should be captioned. It looks like a good one for that.
Oh yeah.
Like, why bother going on living when life is so sad? And Julie says he might have lost a ship. It could be the War of the Stepstones. Yeah. It's all coming together, and just it's interesting to see all of these shots coming so quickly together after we kind of had a long period of I guess indoor silence, but it's happening and it's real and it's here and it's coming and it's House of the Dragon and it's on HBO and HBO Max in 2022. And as Joanne asked, did the Targaryens have a little bit of mental issues in the family? I would say little bit's kind of a understatement. Yes, Targaryens have a history of being a little, a bit out there. Damon's not crazy though. He's just an ass.
Okay, it's different.
I don't think there really are any crazy ones. Daenerys' father was nuts.
Right.
No, not really. Like say like the mad Targaryen. They are like mad, like Daemon is it's a very angry man. As we'll see. And I've always asked you, do you think Matt Smith can pull off charismatic, smoldering, angry, warlike, sexual dynamo? Because he's gonna try.
Yeah, he's gonna try. He's a trained British actor, so I don't doubt that he can pull it off.
we're going to see. But yeah, House of Dragons coming along. Still a ways to go, but it's cool to see that it's taking shape. And I think the wigs will look better on screen.
Maybe.
We'll come back to that later.
So I guess the next topic is something that I really wanted to talk about, because apparently there's a Venom movie coming out like next week. Maybe, probably, I think so, on October 1st. That really came up on me quick. Yeah, Venom Let There Be Carnage. Set for an October 1st release date. It was like October 15th. And then they saw Shang-Chi made a lot of money. And they're like, no, we're going to move it back up to October 1st. But the whole big thing about this and Venom and being the Sony universe and the Sony Spider-Verse is people are wondering, where does Spider-Man fit into all of this? Because not episode 3, and Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, Venom was, oh gosh, that was Topher
played by Eric Foreman. Yeah, that's 70s show fame. And so Venom was there with Spider-Man. It was a huge plot point in the movie that Sony kind of shoehorned in. Thanks to Sony. But now there's perhaps hope that they can do it a little bit better with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And there's a quote from Andy Serkis that gives us a little bit of hope. Andy Serkis is directing the movie. That's kind of interesting. So that's cool.
I'll
good for Gollum. I really am. I like his trajectory.
Did I read in the Gollum voice?
That's up to
going to happen. No. Andy Serkis on the crossover between Venom and Spider-Man says, of course it's going to happen. Depends on when you want to get there and also what the appetite is. People want more Venom stories than to jump straight to Spider-Man. You could be missing out on so many great supervillain characters in between now and then. But yes, everyone wants to see Venom fight Spider-Man. So I think it's appetite, which I'm not. This is an interesting quote because he says, if there's an appetite, I think that's kind of his qualifier. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, man? We're asking you about this already. I'm sure he's answered several questions along the press tour already.
Oh yeah.
About when is Venom going to cross over with Spider-Man. So don't you think there's already an appetite for this? And shouldn't you be a little bit more ahead of that conversation, at least on Sony's part? Oh,
of course they should be. I mean, that's just a guy who probably knows more than he's saying, doesn't want to mess up and just saying it. That's all anybody wants to see. That's all anybody wants to show them. This is just, he's right. They'll get together, whether it's in this one or the next one, because superhero movies exist to get to the big payoff. They just got to spend the right amount of money to make it happen. It'll happen sooner or later. I'm fine.
That's interesting.
You leave Gollum alone.
Well, no, it does. Tired. The tone of the message does kind of seem like, why? I don't know. It's like, well, we've got all this Venom going on. Why would we want to go to Spider-Man? I'm like, because Spider-Man is Spider-Man. He's like the main event. And he's like,
this man directed an entire movie about Venom. Do you know what that must be like to devote all your time and creative energy and all this money to a story people just are kind of doing because they can't see what they really want to see, which is Spider-Man fight Venom? He has to convince himself that this movie he spent all this time and effort on is actually worth something, when the reality is, if there was a short 1-minute film where Tom Holland and Tom Hardy, two Toms, got in their spider suits and slapped each other with fans, it would make so much more money and be so much better than anything involving Venom alone. It is a tough life. Leave Gollum alone. He is trying his best. It's a hard job.
I know. You're really defending him here. And you make a good point. I don't want to, I'm not here to ruffle any feathers.
I'm sorry.
No, I know. But it's kind of like Venom is just okay. When Sony came out with the first movie, I was like, this is just okay. And it really kind of, they liked it. I think, to me, I wouldn't even say it exceeded my expectations. I always said it feels like a movie that should have come out in like 2008 or something like that. Like it's, something comparable to, a good DC movie, like not bad, but not great. And so it's like, if you just open that door up and let Kevin Feige in, don't fight it, don't resist. But then the other question is, okay, they've got all these strings going on in the MCU. So how is Venom going to be a part of that when, like they didn't even really have a snap, or did they? Or, did they just move on like it never happened?
Alternate universes, man. They're already setting that up. This all happens in alternate universes.
That's
Feige
true.
is thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's less to do with like letting Feige in and more to do with how much do we make him pay is my guess. And I'm sure that's coming along. It'll happen. It's just a matter of the right amount of money can come at the right time.
Yeah, I really do think that Sony is trying to hold on. They're like the last survivor, of this Marvel IP where, I think Universal still has Hulk rights, but that's still like, that's up in the air. What rights? But the Hulk,
really?
Yeah, like he can't or could not have something about solo appearances. Like we've never had a solo Hulk thing because Universal, I think, is still having a kind of tough rap on. I've lost all ability to speak. The Hulk can't have a solo movie, and I think it's still that way thanks to Universal. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Interesting.
So yeah, Sony, I think they just want to. Yeah, wait, good for what?
I think they should be broken up further. I think Marvel movies is like the Bells back in the 70s or 80s for the phone companies. They'd be broken up by the government and spread out among different studios. That's what I want to happen. I don't want all this crossover stuff. I want one company owns the X-Men, one company owns like just Spider-Man, and another one owns Mary Jane, and they can't do anything together. That's what I'm into.
Well, as we learned, I mean, like Sony still has kind of like a leash on Tom Holland, as we learned from our good editorial friends on a website that won't be named for recasting.
Marvel can have 3 of the 4 Fantastic Four, but not the 4th. That's got to go with Miramax. Wait, they're Disney too, aren't they? Never mind.
Oh, let's get what is that? A20? Is that 23 or 24?
There's 24.
Have like an indie Marvel film, A24, but it's not really indie. So that's what's going on there. I do think as long as Sony is not stubborn about letting Kevin Feige and the rest of his team, Victoria Alonso, all those other people, of course, they usually don't get as much credit, but they deserve it. Once they let go a little bit and say, okay, we're ready to work with you, it'll happen. And we've got No Way Home. Right? Is that it? Yeah. No Way Homecoming.
Yeah, big stuff.
And we'll have a lot of crossover there. Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, fingers crossed.
Once Disney ponies up enough money to Sony, they'll let it happen. And then and only then will they be a Jedi and will they cross over.
Exactly. So interesting there. And we'll see what happens.
I love our little
debate.
After,
we'll see what happens after that. So amazing. Let's jump in then to a fun segment that we call What Are We Watching? That we always love for our wonderful, let's see. Oh, I've got to go back and read the comments. Christian says now Mia's on moonshine. Yeah, I don't know what I spiked my water with today. That is so strange. I'm going to have to be excused for the rest of the show. And so let's get into what are we watching. Let us know what you're watching in the comments as well, folks.
What are you watching?
Some recommendations. But Emmys were this weekend. I guess we can talk about the Emmys, right?
Of course
Did you watch the Emmys, Dan?
I did watch the Emmys. I had my patented thing that I've done now, just like kind of just doing laundry, answering emails, doing stuff like that. Emmys are on. Do you know they actually got watched? The ratings went up, which is interesting. For like the first time in years, they were up.
Wow.
And I mean, they were interesting, kind of predictable in terms of the winners, at least. Ted Lasso won everything on the comedy side, and The Crown won everything on the drama side. The Crown being a very well-made show that is just sort of like the safe choice. I talked before, like I think award shows get, especially TV award shows, because with movies, at least something new every year. With TV shows, they kind of get into these grooves. and just vote the same things every year. Not necessarily because they deserve it, because they are what they did last year. So inertia.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed The Crown quite a bit. But it was kind of lame that all that sci-fi fantasy stuff didn't get anything, like The Boys and The Mandalorian and WandaVision. It was all kind of came up aces. I think there were more than that too. But I forgot.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. Oh, that was nothing. That got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think,
and again,
gosh, Courtney B. Vance, I think got but that's the creative Emmy for the guest spot on that show. So that's something. But yeah, in the primetime Emmys, it was I thought Lovecraft Country was going to get something.
I did too. I thought it would get something. I mean, this is a cynical thing to say, but I think it's true. Had Michael K. Williams died before the voting, I think he would have been had a better chance. I think.
Yeah.
I think folk did it before any of that broke.
Yeah.
I think he still. I mean, frankly, I think he still sort of deserved it. I thought he gave a really.
It was
really,
an awesome
really performance.
Yeah. And then we had
it was the Emmys.
Hannah Waddingham.
That was nice.
Yeah. And who does she play again?
She plays Rebecca. Oh, she played Septa Unella, the shame nun who just walked behind Cersei.
Right.
Shame. That was it. And she is Rebecca on Ted Lasso, which was the belle of the ball that night. And it is a very good show. It's very fun. And it's great to see her win. She was very sweet. She was very bubbly. She was very happy to be there and accepting. She looks great in that peach gown. God, and she looks great with the Emmy.
That's like my favorite color. So I approve of the gown.
Even the font is better.
Yeah.
So congrats. Although again, it is a little weird narrative-wise that now the angry bell-ringing shame nun has an Emmy, but Cersei Lannister does not, which I think is a little weird. But that's not her fault. Good for you, Hannah Waddingham. Excellent job on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, maybe I will watch that. Maybe I will watch Ted Lasso.
Oh, it's
I know everyone
fun.
won't stop talking about it. Not like Jason Sudeikis, at least, so that's a plus. But yeah, otherwise, I wasn't surprised about The Mandalorian. Like last year, The Mandalorian took home a lot of creative Emmys, and then it was silent for the rest of the night. So I also had a sneaking suspicion that WandaVision was going to be the same. Like they're going to get all these creative Emmys. And then when it comes down to the meat of it, it's going to be silent. So that's unfortunate. Like I had a tweet in my drafts ready, the tweet I sent out that night. Oh, it's so unfortunate. We love The Mandalorian. I think I had that prepared like an hour before the drama category was called, because I was like, I know how this is going to end. So Emmys were something I'm like, yeah, it's predictable. I could do without it, but it is nice to see the people who did win, cool. I guess. Michaela Cole, she did win for, I believe that was writing for I May Destroy You. That was an awesome one, at least.
Yeah. The best part was Seth Rogen saying, like, we should not be here. This is inappropriate. They told me this was outside. They lied. What are we all doing here? I would not have come to this if I had known.
Oh, Seth Rogen. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That's
my opinion on that. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise that was that. And also what I watched this week was something interesting, Star Wars Visions, which I teased last week. Now I can finally give my review, which is the Star Wars anime. And this one is interesting because it is anime set in the Star Wars universe, but an anthology series. So every episode is a standalone. Every episode is done by like a small Japanese animation studio. And it is not necessarily canon. Like all of this is just kind of done within the imaginations of these creators. So it's like Lucasfilm said, hey, you can come up with any story you want as long as it's set within the Star Wars universe. So I found it to be really enjoyable. It's one of those series where I wrote in my review that you're looking at it for the entertainment value, but also for the art, because it's like each episode has its own color palette, animation style. One looks like it's straight out of a manga. The other kind of maybe looks like Studio Ghibli and all these other great things. Cool. So it's really fun. It's really cute. I think my favorite it's called The Ninth Jedi. And gosh, like how do I even describe it? The girl has like a spunky kind of Studio Ghibli character attitude.
Nice.
And they're trying to find the last Jedi in the galaxy, even though, you know, the Empire is looking for them, and something happens to her father. He's building secret lightsabers and all that. So that was a very imaginative story. One story, it was okay. It's about a rock band on Tatooine, and to me, that was
fun.
about it. But they're all really, really cute. And one, and then I'll stop. There's another one about a boy, a robot who wishes to be a real boy and a real Jedi, which is like very Pinocchio-like.
Oh, I
It's
like
got some
that.
Astro Boy vibe. So yeah, it is really cute. Each is no more than like 20 or so minutes. Sometimes it's less. And I'm like, this is something where you just take it slow. Like, you don't have to binge watch it all. I think it's worth taking it slow and watching it piece by piece by piece. So it was really cute. But the caveat is, if you don't like anime, I don't think this is going to change your mind about anime. That was my one caveat.
Sure.
So yeah.
As Christian says, Star Wars What If, me as someone who's seen both of them, what do you prefer? Star Wars Visions or What If? Anthology, giant franchise wise.
I almost think I would prefer What If. I've really been enjoying the imagination that the Marvel one has been using for the most part. This one, because these are like original characters, but I think like Boba Fett might be the only character that returns in this series, or maybe another person as well. But so this is like brand new. Sometimes it feels like Star Wars, sometimes it doesn't. It's like it's got those hints of Star Wars, but it's all original, so you don't really feel attached to the characters until like basically the end of the short.
Right, fair enough. I think it's pretty cool.
It's a Star Wars version. In a way, yeah, Christian said it's kind of like a Star Wars version of What If. In a way, yeah, like What If, you know, it's very stemmed in the Eastern culture. So, you know, you've got all these ideas. What if lightsabers could be katanas and all those sorts of things? It is really cool in that regard.
Oh yeah, Christian, like I know what you were suggesting. I just want to take your comment and turn it into forcing me to make a Sophie's choice, which I always think is fun to do in any circumstance.
Gee, thanks.
You're welcome. And Julie says she found out that the guy who played Oral in Game of Thrones, Mackenzie Cook, plays Viren in Britannia. Make him amazing. I remember Oral. Remember him getting raked by the. Oh no, he was the bird, and then he raked Jon Snow's face. Then he died. Well, he's gone now. I'm actually enjoying Britannia, Julie, and the quest goes on. As Christian says, could the fact that more people are stuck at home watching TV account for the bigger Emmy ratings? And like, yeah, but last year they were down. We were all stuck at home then too. Oh, that was like the really DIY Emmys where everyone was like in their suits, just like to the waist at home. So maybe that wasn't quite elaborate enough for folk to tune in, but I don't know. Oh, okay. And I'm watching Foundation. Just a quick note. Foundation, it starts, I think, this
Embargo.
Friday.
Wait, embargo is tomorrow. I thought I was going to message you that, but I just saw that the embargo is tomorrow. So,
well, all I'm saying is Foundation starts Friday.